From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Black and Gold Review Show, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight, and the 2018 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome in alongside Saints Hall of Fame running back Deuce McAllister and Al Marrero we're hearing. Sean Vazan, he's our city champ. I'm Juan Kincaid. Marshawn Lattimore says sometimes you just need to slap yourself. Get a slap in the face to wake this defense up. Is that kind of what this team needs right now? A little slap?
If that's what it takes, then so be it. I mean, but it's definitely a wake-up call for them, and I think that they're going to bounce back. I'm interested to see how they approach this next game and how they actually come out and play.
Got to play better. I mean, look, the season is here. It all counts. It ain't all about to get real. It is real. So, got to play better. Yeah,
got to play better. Let's get you right into the playbook. Play number one, season opening stench. Lost 5 straight openers, 7 of the last 8. The common theme has been they give up a lot of yards and a lot of points and don't score enough on the scoreboard.
That's a definition of how to lose, and it's unfortunate that you put up this amount of yardage, you put up the numbers that you did from an offensive standpoint, but they had some imperfections themselves. When you look at it as a defense standpoint, I think it has to be detailing your work. You have to be disciplined in what you're doing, not only on the back end, but on the front 7 as well.
Opposing quarterbacks have made a living making, career nights opening week against the Saints. There was that stat that was tweeted out the last, I guess, in that 5-game losing streak, or 6 of the last 7 or 7 of the last 8. I'm very curious how this, I mean, obviously it's over with now, but from years, from now on, I mean, 5 in a row is a lot. I don't know if there's something you can tweak during the week, something you can tweak from a roster standpoint, something you can tweak from maybe, there's a lot of fluidity in that roster for week 1 or a preseason schedule. I don't know, but 5 straight, that's more than an outlier. That seems like an issue to me.
It's like if you're a teacher in school and you keep teaching something the same way and the kids aren't quite getting it, you got to change your methods a little bit. That's what this comes down to me. All right, let's get back into the playbook. Play number 2, ignorance isn't bliss. And we're talking about this defense that we thought was going to be special coming into the season. Anything but right now.
Well, they thought they were special.
Yes.
And they played like they thought they were special. But unfortunately, other teams are ready to play. And I think this looked like a defense that kind of thought they were going to show up a little bit and make plays, and because, hey, we're the Saints, we pick up where we left off last year. I know they said it's a new year, but still, it takes a game like this to kind of maybe get, reset the narrative, if you will. So I just think defensively it was a complete breakdown from the front end to the middle to the back end. I mean, no pressure, bad against the run, and obviously coverage bust and just getting beat on the back end. It was just a total failure defensively, and hopefully they handled it the right way. And it's a prideful group, so I think they will.
And you have to have the right mentality as well to understand in this league, you are going to have to play your best week in and week out. You may have 1 or 2 players that maybe don't show up fully, but you can't have entire units. And I think that's what happened to them. And it almost just snowballed on them to where it's like, oh, this again, or something else bad happens. And, I think they still played hard and had a chance to win, but it just wasn't in the cards for them for that to happen.
Are you curious to see how these young guys bounce back? Because, again, most of the defensive best players last year were all rookies. All they know is success. So now you got a little adversity. How do you bounce back from there? That's the biggest challenge for them, isn't it?
I think it's detailing the work. And what I mean there, if you have to spend a little extra time, if you have to spend a little extra time with the coach, make sure that you understand completely what you're being asked to do from a defensive standpoint. The same thing with offense, because they can be better as well. But it's understanding what is the coach asking me to do, and can I go out and do it?
And I think it really, one player kind of embodies that. I thought Marshawn Lattimore. Look, he got beat. Obviously, he was Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. But look, teams are going to challenge him. They're not throwing away from him, especially a guy like Mike Evans, who he has history with. So I think they got to handle this the right way. Look in the film, get in the film room, and just understand that what you did yesterday was not good enough, and you got to get better to win in 2018.
Let's get back into the playbook. Play number 3, big 3, boom. Breeze, Kamara, Thomas, as good as advertised yesterday.
They were definitely really good, but you go back and look and you try to find where can I be better. If you're Michael Thomas, you know that, hey, look, that one catch that I didn't catch, I've got to catch that next time. He was going to turn to make a move, and that's why he didn't catch it. We don't see him put the ball on the ground. He knows he has to squeeze that football. If you're Alvin Kamara, you're asking yourself, where can I help this team in the run game? You know, what can I do better? We only had 13 carries as a group. How can I improve the running attack so now it's only going to open up for the passing even more?
Sean, can Kamara improve the running game if Sean Payton wants to keep his touches down? He only had, what, nine touches?
But he played over 80% of the snaps, so he was in the game a lot. He didn't have a whole lot of touches. I thought all three of these guys played outstanding. And it's a shame. The big storyline was the defense because the offense really played well. Short of those couple drives coming out of halftime, I thought the offense played well. I thought Michael Thomas, the one mistake he made other than the drop was the fumble, and I thought that fumble combined with the earlier fumble really was the difference, because when you get into a track meet, Deuce, we talked about this yesterday, and you go score for score, shot for shot, any mistake offensively becomes magnified. I thought that's what happened yesterday.
All right, play number 4, back into the playbook, running on empty. And again, we were talking just now about how can they get better workload, better production out of that running game when you don't want to overwork Alvin Kamara. Jonathan Williams, as you get more touches, you bring Boston Scott in, Mike Gillislee. He's going to be best remembered in that first game for putting the ball on the ground. How do you improve the run game?
I think you have to stay committed to it. Obviously, you can't lose a game like you did yesterday because of letting the game get away because you have to score. You want to find and make sure that you have some balance, and I know that's what they went into that game, you know, hoping to achieve. The other piece is if they're able to get Andres Pete back, how much does he change what they can do from an offensive line standpoint? I thought Josh Laribas held his own and did really well, but, you know, having him is going to change what they can do in a running attack.
And Deuce, I thought you said it was good last night. You know, they got into that chasing points mode, so they had to abandon the run game early. And look, Sean Payton is Sean Payton, and when he gets behind, especially in the second half, he tends to do that. You know, they didn't want to go in with 13 rushes for 43 yards, but look, when you're running the football, you got to move the chains. You can't fumble a football like Gillislee did. So, next week there's going to be a much more emphasis on running the football. But if a game plays out the way it does and you fall behind 20 points or 18 points,
you can't run it.
Sometimes you just can't run it.
All right, coming up, who's to blame for all the big plays the Saints gave up? That young man right there, Sean Vazan, breaks down all of that in his film study. And you've got questions, lots of them. We'll answer as many as we can get to, including topics on Ken Crawley and the pass rush. Next.
Watching the Black and Gold Review Show, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers and the 2018 Nissan Titan.
Welcome back in. Time to play the blame game on this defense. Sean Vazan got this film study.
We don't play the blame game around here. So we were all witnesses to a career day by Ryan Fitzpatrick. But as I was watching the game, there was no doubt Fitzpatrick was dealing. But for this film study, I wanted to decipher how much of what we truly saw was Fitz magic and how much of it was a quarterback throwing to a bunch of wide open receivers. At the 2:43 mark of the first quarter, Fitzpatrick connected with Mike Evans down the right sideline for a 21-yard gain. This was one of 4 outstanding Fitzpatrick throws on the day. The ball was dropped beautifully on the back shoulder with Marshawn Lattimore running step for step. At the 13:02 mark of the second quarter, Fitzpatrick dropped another dime, this time to O.J. Howard, who got away with a push-off for a 35-yard gain. Howard ran a corner route over Demario Davis. Now, with or without the push-off, the throw was on target. Later in the quarter, Fitzpatrick and Howard connected again. This time, Von Bell was in coverage, but Fitzpatrick placed the ball perfectly on Howard's back shoulder, who turned his body and made a nice catch for a 19-yard gain. Again, Howard may have gotten away with a push-off. That same drive ended with perhaps Fitzpatrick's best throw of the day, when he hit Chris Godwin with a back shoulder pass with Ken Crawley draped in coverage. But there were far too many throws where, honestly, any competent quarterback could have connected on. The receiver was that wide open. We counted 10 of these plays Sunday, but for this film study, we're only showing the biggest 5. The first one is easy. It's the first touchdown of the game. There's a clear coverage bust between Patrick Robinson and Von Bell. Robinson passed off Deshaun Jackson to Bell, who either doesn't know that's his guy or is looking in the backfield. Either way, Jackson popped wide open for an easy pitch and catch. Next one, Fitzpatrick and Evans again. Evans gets lost in the Saints zone and catches the ball without a defender within 3 yards of him. Later in the quarter, Fitzpatrick to Evans once again. And again, Lattimore in coverage. And again, Evans just simply beats him on the go route. Fitzpatrick lofts it up. Evans runs under it for the touchdown. All Lattimore could do was dive at Evans' feet as he ran away.
In the fourth, they kept going. Fitzpatrick locates Jackson again, who's running a deep post. Crawley is expecting deep safety help, but Kurt Coleman jumped the underneath dig route, leaving Jackson wide open for another easy score. And finally, it's Fitzpatrick back to Jackson, who once again leaves Crawley in the dust on the 9 route. In fact, a better throw, and Jackson may have scored.
Now, there were 5 other wide-open throws Fitzpatrick connected on. When we tallied it all up, he had 301 passing yards and 3 touchdowns on plays where the receiver was simply wide open down the field. So this kind of goes to show you Fitzpatrick played good. I thought he played really well. But a lot of those throws, a lot of them could have made. I mean, there was some wide-open players. It just goes to show you that one-on-one battles and some coverage, but they just weren't playing Saints football in the secondary.
Yeah, and when you go back and you look at it, that's where you really have to clean it up, as far as your secondary is concerned. If one guy is giving you a check, all 4 really, or at least the 3 safeties, there's 2 safeties that are in, they have got to get that check. And you talk about a lot of times when you're in press coverage, unless you're bailing, then you've got to redirect that receiver. If you miss or you're trying to jam, you're just running at that point, and now you're either hoping your pass rush gets him or it's a bad throw. And so you just put yourselves in a bad situation, and that's where you really want to detail your work.
And look, and it's a good point because pass rush-wise, it wasn't there at all. And I think that's where it all starts. So you can't make plays on the front end. The back end can get exposed, and I think that's what happened a little bit too.
You're right.
On Sunday.
Nice film study. Sean is our film study master, if you didn't know that. Each Thursday night on Game Plan at 10:35, he looks back on the key plays from the previous week. And then Sunday morning on Tailgate, he'll give you a preview of the opposition that you will not see anywhere else. Time now to get to our questions. We've got a bunch of questions tonight submitted on the Final Play app using the Final Word feature. This comes from Kerry Taylor in Baton Rouge. When are the Saints going to start a cornerback other than Ken Crawley? Ken Crawley had a rough game. I
think Ken Crawley is the other cornerback that they have to start. I mean, you would look at Patrick Robinson maybe sliding out there, but I don't know how comfortable they want to move him. He's had his best years as a slot corner. So, I mean, I think they're going to go with Ken Crawley unless an injury occurs. I mean, you could probably look at Arthur Millette being that other guy, or, I would go with him. I wouldn't even mess with it.
Yeah. Name them. Lattimore, Crawley, Williams, Bell, Anzalone, Davis. I'm naming all the defenders. They all had bad games yesterday. My point is, look, King Crawley, to me, he had a tough game yesterday, but to me, I'm okay with him as the number 2 corner. I think he's their best option at this point. You don't just magically wave a wand and you find a better player. I think King Crawley is who he is as a player. He played well last year. Everybody did bad on Sunday, so I think I haven't quite given up on King Crawley just yet.
Bit of a trickle down. All right, our next question comes from Tina in Lakeview. She wants to know what happens to our pass rush. Or was the Bucs O-line that good?
The Bucs O-line played really, really well, and you could see that they started to frustrate the Saints front 4. When the Saints did blitz, they were able to pick it up. We were not able to get the hits on them. You have to be able to control yourself as far as composure. It's going to be tough for David Onyemata on one of those calls to be able to stop and not throw his body weight on Fitzpatrick. And the other one, today, the referees, or at least the league officials, ruled that the hit by Davenport should not have been a penalty. So that's just unfortunate luck. But our pass rush has to be better.
When I watched the majority of this game over again, it simply boiled down to one-on-one matchups.
You got to win them.
Tampa Bay's offensive line not just beat, but they beat up on the Saints' defensive line, which is, after the year they had last year was, a little bit concerning to see. Those guys have got to dig deep and really. I mean, they got to bring it next week because I just felt like mano-a-mano, one-on-one, they lost way more than they won Sunday in the Dome.
All right, let's get to our next question from Cornelius in Marrero. It appears as though the defensive miscues were due to a matter of misplacement rather than execution. In regards to the linebackers, the right players are in the game but were not placed in positions to their strengths, something I've been harping on. Why is Demario Davis not playing in the middle? Because that's what he did so well last year with the Jets. What say you, Deuce?
They've talked about getting the best 3 as far as linebackers on the field. It's only so much of a 4-3 that they're traditionally going to play. Normally, they're going to be in a nickel defense. At some point, they may move Demario over to the Mike, but he's been their best will player. Will be interesting to see how they give each of those guys more reps at each of the linebacker positions.
Yeah, and it was almost like, try this guy here, try that guy there, all preseason. And almost like it was almost too much fluctuation, right? So now you got a situation where the linebackers, just none of them kind of look quite comfortable. I bet there's going to be some fluidity here heading into the season. They're going to figure out the best mix, but I agree. I like Demario Davis as a Mike linebacker, not a weak side linebacker. That's what he played in New York. That's what you signed him to do. I mean, he was your big money free agent. So I bet talk about personnel tweaks or changes. I bet it would come at the linebacker position.
We shall see going forward here with that. Up next, we'll keep it going with the questions as we turn our attention to the offensive side of the ball, where the stars of preseason have faded. And later, we'll look ahead to the curious case of the Cleveland Browns. They only have a winning streak against 3 franchises, and the Saints are the only opponent they've beaten 2 straight times.
Black and Gold Review is sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealer, the best-selling truck 41 years straight. You're watching the Black and Gold Review Show, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers and the 2018 Nissan Titan.
All right, welcome back in. I want to get you right back to the questions, and this first one comes from S. Brumfield from Hollygrove. The question is, now that everyone has seen what Mike Gillislee can do, will Boston Scott come off the practice squad? He would have done much better to help the team. We're assuming that. He's been a good player in preseason, but Gillislee's not a bad player. He just had a bad moment.
He had one bad moment. I mean, you go back and you look, he has the ball in the correct arm. The defender put his helmet right on the ball. He's got to squeeze it. That's the only thing he can do. I thought he was effective when you looked at him as far as a blocker on kickoff returns. So he played a lot in special teams. I don't know how much, without the touches, how much different he could have came back or the difference he could have made.
I don't know that Gillislee, though, is good enough to overcome a fumbling issue. I mean by that, on his best day, he's the guy who's going to trust the play, get you 6, get you 5, get you 7. So if he's having fumbling ball security issues, I don't know if that's a recipe for lasting long around here. So as far as Boston Scott, I think it's a work in progress. I don't know if it's going to happen this week, but I think at some point maybe he sneaks his way onto the active roster.
That was only Gillislee's 3rd career fumble.
That was?
Only his 3rd.
Okay.
So it's been injuries in the past for him, not necessarily ball security issues.
Let's get to our next question from Joshua Gus Gentili. Where was Traquan Smith in that game? 1 target? Not the guy we saw in preseason, obviously.
The best thing about the game yesterday was the passing attack. I mean, they were flawless. They looked midseason form. That first drive was about as flawless as they come. So I think, look, Traquan Smith will have his opportunities. It was his very first game. He had 1 target. I think Traquan Smith's going to have plenty of opportunities here. So the passing game was fine yesterday. That's the one thing that I felt like was completely on point.
His opportunities, his chances will come. I think that they will continue to get him involved. But the receiving core, they did a pretty good job. So I don't have any qualms with them at all.
All right, coming up, the Browns broke their losing skid in Week 1 against the Steelers. We'll preview their strengths and weaknesses against the Saints coming up. And be sure to tune in tomorrow night for Fox 8 Overtime, when we'll have more Saints talk, as well as look at all the big stories in South Louisiana sports this week. We'll answer your viewer questions as well, so keep them submitting them, those on the Final Play app, and be sure to watch Fox 8 Overtime every Tuesday night at 10:35.
Your Southern Quality Ford dealers and the 2018 Nissan Titan.
Time to turn our attention to what comes next for the Saints. The Cleveland Browns, who snapped a long losing streak yesterday by tying the Pittsburgh Steelers. Before we assume that the Saints will win this game, they lost their last 2 times they played against Pittsburgh. But first, against the Browns. But first, the game against Pittsburgh yesterday, that's a win in the Browns' eyes. I mean, I know a win's a win, but this is a win for them. They've been losing for so long.
It's a win for your confidence, but
yes,
it's still it's not a win. It's a tie, and you even played 15 more minutes in overtime and still don't come away with a W.
This is so Cleveland, it hurts. I mean, they broke their losing streak with a tie. I mean, I feel for the Browns fans.
Baby
I really
steps.
do. But still, this game Sunday, it worries me a little bit. The Saints have not always matched up well against the Browns. 2010,
2014, the Saints lost both of those games, 10 in the Dome, 14 in Cleveland. But if you go back to Sean Payton's first game, channel that game. Deuce McAllister, channel it.
If that's what it takes, so be it. Just figure out a way to get a W. You're going to be familiar with a lot of the things that they like to do just because it's Greg Williams. But, you know, at the same time, you're going to have to be able to go and play. He is going to try to pressure you up the middle. You know, you're going to have to account for Julius Peppers. Peppers, but you're going to have to account for Myles Garrett as well. You'll see a deep safety. They like to play the deep safety, and they don't want to get anything behind them. They don't want to get beat deep. So, you know, it's being patient. That's what it's going to take.
I think the Saints can do that. I think Breeze is okay with when he, you know, being patient and taking his shots, but the scenario setting up is a little worrisome. The Saints have never matched up well with the AFC North in general, not just the Cleveland Browns. But it should be an interesting matchup, but I still think the Saints are going to pull this one out.
All right, let's get to our final question of the evening from our youngest viewer, from Landon Williams, 9-year-old. He says, how will the Saints recover from this loss? And if we win or lose, who do we need to lose? Who dat?
Who dat, Landon? We just need to win. We're not going to get into who do we need to lose yet. Let's give it a couple weeks, but right now we just need a win.
Ultra focus this week at practice, and hopefully that translates to the game on Sunday. That's how you win Sunday.
Well said. All right, and a reminder that the Black and Gold Review show is only a part of our Football on Fox 8 schedule throughout the season. More Saints talk as well as some college and high school chatter on the overtime Tuesday night. We've got a full preview of the Browns on Wednesday night's game plan. Friday is time for high school football with Sean Vazan, Chris Hagan, and Garland Gillen on Fox 8 Football Friday. Sunday, the game day routine. Fox 8 Live tailgate at 10, kickoff at noon, wrap up the day with the final play at 10:30, and then we do it all over again. Until then, for Deuce McAllister and Sean Vazan and everyone at Fox 8, I'm Juan Kincaid. Thanks for watching. Our next newscast, 4:30 in the morning. Have a great night.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been the Black and Gold Review Show, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling